You know, we make it a little bit more.
1 o'clock, so now call to order the June 18th, 2024 regular school board meeting of the Stanwood-Camano School District Board of Directors. Director Evans is absent today and excused. The rest of our board members are here. I don't have any student advisors now, still this fall, it's new ones. So would you all right, today we're offering 2 opportunities for the public to speak. Comments specific to the consent agenda will be allowed prior to the vote on those items. Citizens who have submitted a request to speak either here in person or online during the public comments section of the agenda will be called upon to make their remarks at that time, which is near the end of the meeting. I would ask Officer Curry to lead us in our flag salute.
The way just assume the flag. Saves. Which stands one nation. And it is one.
Okay. You have the agenda before you for the June 18, 2024 regular school board meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda for regular school board meeting? Second by Director Foster. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That passes unanimously. Okay, you have the minutes from the last board meeting on June 4th, 2024. Regular board meeting minutes. Are there any changes, corrections to those minutes? Or is there a motion to approve the minutes for the June 4th for regular board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Director Murray,
Second.
seconded by Director Foster. All right, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. That passes unanimously. It's time for the superintendent's report.
All right, good afternoon. We're going to start with reading in of donations. We have one donation this month. The Stanwood-Camano School District received $965.48 from the Camano Island Friends of the Library to cover transportation costs for the Utsabadi Elementary School field trip to the Camano Library. So we are very grateful to our friends of the library. It sounds like our microphones are really working today. Okay, I'll keep my voice down. We are going to transition to Deputy Superintendent Ovenel, who's going to give us our annual district safety update.
Speaking of safe, I think all students should be delivered home safely by this point in the day. So thank you for that. I'm going to give a brief student and district safety update, something that happens about this time every year, and really ties the loop on what we talked about at the beginning of the year as well. And the first thing I'd like to do is to lean into our promise, particularly around inclusive settings, because how those settings are only safe, the settings of the school are only safe if they are inclusive. Also, looking at our educational equity statement, you're going to hear several examples of our equity, how we've used the equity lens when we allocate resources across the district to all schools. And the end goal is to be sure that students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally in our schools. There's really 4 areas that I would like to talk about today, and the first area is around our emergency preparedness drills. By law, we conduct at least one emergency preparedness drill in each of our school sites each month of the year. There's different types of emergency preparedness drills: shelter in place, fire, earthquake, lockdown, and lockout, in which each of our sites we conduct those drills throughout the year. I'd also like to highlight that We're continuing to partner with Shake Alert, which is our district-wide paging system in advance of an earthquake of 4.0 magnitude or higher. That provides students and staff on campus a critical time to react. We're partnering with the United States Geologic Survey to bring lessons in advance of the great shakeout in Washington State this coming year. So that will be forthcoming and new with regard to our emergency preparedness. I always like to highlight something that I believe we're ahead of the curve on, and that is our reunification preparedness. We would reunify a building if students are evacuated off campus and need to be reunified with their parents or guardians. And I'd like to just publicly acknowledge Deputy McCurry, who leads that work with us. You can see some photos on the slide deck of the practice that happened, what we call a tabletop exercise that happened in May, in which we had 50 students that came in on a bus, were walked through the different scenarios that happened and would happen, which would be likely, that Deputy McCurry helped to lead. So we are getting closer and are moving the protocol to meet our needs every time that we do it. We will likely reunify again here in town once next year, and then also hopefully on the island. We're remiss to talk about student and district safety if we don't talk about facilities. And I'd just like to highlight with regard to facilities improvements and safety improvements around our facilities that we're going to employ the recommendations of staff and our Capital Facilities Advisory Committee that happened throughout the year this year. And you can see a bulleted list of some of the items that are taking place with regard to safety. They include fencing additions. The goal is to provide fencing around the entirety of all elementary schools. That is in place and actually started at Twin City Elementary yesterday. We'll start at Stanwood Elementary on Thursday, and at Port Susan just after that. A window blind replacement, which has been something that's been brought up for a while. Fire detection system is being upgraded at Port Susan. That is becoming or is obsolete, along with some other modifications. Lastly, I want to highlight our harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy 3207 and corresponding procedure. And you might remember that in October, we discussed our what we call HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy and procedure here at a board meeting, and talked about our education that we do. And I wanted to provide some data that go along with that this year. And you can see how we're trending one year over another. And I'd just like to highlight that harassment, intimidation occurrences are declining year over year, and the reporting of the harassment, intimidation, and bullying occurrences is working, I would say. We get the notification for a HIB. Several people in this building do at all hours of the day and night, and that's what we want. We want families to be able to report, for us to investigate, for us to make a determination based on policy and procedure, and support the students whatever way the determination was made. So once again, just some data to go along with the policy and procedure 3207P, which is HIB. Field any questions?
Can you tell me what a PSMS is?
Sorry about that. It's an acronym. I should have spelled out. That's Port Susan Middle School.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. And we use different acronyms for different buildings sometimes. So thank you for that.
And the other thing, I was wondering, who's the vendor for that? To do the upgrade,
For the fencing,
the fire?
Becca is the contractor that we're using to do the installation. Becca is a, large, electrical contractor you might know of.
So do you get multiple bids when you do that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we do. Anything over $40,000, we are required to get, multiple bids for.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Also in the HMB report, so you have 24/7 intake, right? And what happens after that? What's the process?
So what's the process for receiving a
Once it's received, the 24-hour thing by somebody, then what happens after that?
Sure. By policy, by procedure, excuse me, we have 2 days to notify families, both the complainant and the prospective potential aggressor. We have 5 days to make a determination about if HIB occurred. And just as a reminder, there's 4 conditions in which harassment, intimidation, and bullying would be determined to be be determined to be HIB. And then 2 more days to notify families of the determination.
Thank you very much.
I actually have some questions.
Go ahead.
Sure.
First, kind of going down the list, we talked about your preparedness drills. Did we take any of our students' observations, comments into consideration and implement any of that this year to help with the social emotional aspect of emergency preparedness in our schools?
I can give an example, particularly around the reunification drill. So the day after the reunification drill, a survey was sent out to everyone that was there. And we actually got some critical feedback, I think, from students as far as the experience went and how they would, things that they recommended changing from the student side, and what they experienced. It's our continuing practice to hopefully field those, that student voice. Another example would be the communication mechanism that happens in an event, that Evan has built out for being able to text students during an emergency so they understand what's going on, with accurate information.
Thank you for that. As far as your HIB data, I was wondering, has there been any comparison to prior to COVID versus after COVID as far as our numbers coming in?
I haven't done that look back yet, but we are looking year over year and seeing how we can, if there's adjustments that are needed with regard to particularly around the ability for families to report HIB. Our policy stands and the complaints are measured against the policy, which is built in law. So that hasn't moved necessarily, but how we report has. But that would be an interesting look back. Thank you.
And then lastly, about facility safety, can we talk about the plan of action for our water systems and at our schools?
Be happy to. Any fixtures that were determined to be elevated above 5 parts per billion lead or higher are still isolated and turned off. We just submitted a grant to OSPI. It's a competitive grant yesterday for reimbursement for the fixtures that will be replaced that measured above 5 parts per billion. That total was just over $31,000 for the fixtures to be replaced. That is in the works for the summer, would be the hope, so that all fixtures return to service by the time the students return to schools.
Gotcha. just didn't see it on the list, so I thought I better ask.
I will mention one more thing. The Department of Health, did not measure any fixtures that were not used by students. So fixtures in the staff room, other areas. We did, after we got our initial results, do independent testing that we're waiting on the results of those other fixtures, for instance, in staff rooms.
So we don't know what that additional cost will be yet.
Not currently. And I wouldn't anticipate that the OSPI competitive grant would fund those.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to thank you for your report and for the work you've done on our safety program, and I'd like to give a little credit to our communications director, Kevin. The numbers are trending in the right way, and I think making it more clear on the website what actually is and how to find other resources in there has been very helpful. So thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we will hear from Ruth Floyd. She's going to talk with us a little bit about surplus vehicles.
Hello, good afternoon. We have two items for surplus. We wanted to let you know our board policy requires approval at items valued over 5,000, but we always want you to be aware when there's larger vehicles or equipment that will be surplus. We have a van with almost 134,000 miles on it. The vehicle needs more work than really what it's worth. But we will either trade it in for a new vehicle or scrap it. We also, the technology department also have been using a laser cutter and engraver for some of the assets, devices that we have. They no longer need that. And so that will be, we will attempt to sell that through surplus or dispose of it in another way. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, I have the pleasure of formally announcing and welcoming our new principal to Elder Bay Elementary School. So I am going to introduce, I almost said Dr. Sanchez, soon to be Dr. Sanchez to you. And then we have a small welcome gift for her, and then of course we'll take a picture. But we have the distinct pleasure to announce, as you already know, that Elizabeth Sanchez will be the new principal of Elder Bay Elementary. And that starts effective July 1st, so about 12 days, 13 days. Liz has worked in education since 2007, including as a bilingual teacher and 10 years as an assistant principal. She currently is the assistant principal and athletic director at Gateway Middle School in Everett, which, for your information, is a high-performing school home to about 1,000 students, so big middle school. She brings a strong academic background in creating opportunities for meaningful learning experiences, fostering growth among students and staff, and advocating for equity with community input. These efforts are all geared toward a common goal, she said, student achievement. Ms. Sanchez is a Camino Island resident, and so we're glad that she's able to be close to work and home. She's currently pursuing her doctoral degree, and she holds master's degrees in educational leadership from the Bank Street College and urban education from Mercy College. She also holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration and Spanish from San Diego State University. I know someone else in the room that is fond of San Diego State University. So welcome and congratulations, and I have something for you, so I'm going to bring it down. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. We can find a place for them. We're going to just take a quick picture with Evan. Thank you. Welcome.
That all the, yeah, okay. All right. We are at the point of our consent agenda here. Thank you, Dr. Ramos. Anyone in attendance may speak to the items contained in the consent agenda and only those items contained in the consent agenda at this time. This is not the portion of the meeting for open public comments on items outside of the consent agenda. Open public comment is coming up soon. Do we have anyone? No one has signed up online or in here, so we'll skip on down there. Are there any items we want to pull from the consent agenda? I have a list running here so far. Pulling item 2, 3, 16, 17, and 19. So talk about those briefly then. Anything else? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve consent agenda item 1, 4 through 15, 18, and 20. Moved by Director Foster.
Yes,
Seconded by
yes, thank you.
Director King. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That passes unanimously. Okay, item 2. Just pulled that because, I had a question on student field trips about our procedure. We have a number of new directors, so I think it's good to go over that. And I'll ask Dr. Rumpel, what the district has for oversight on that, building principals, and, so we keep the risk to our kids. Stay with interruption.
Sure, yes. If I understand your question, the process that we go through for student field trips includes, first of all, someone in the building, oftentimes a coach or a teacher or an individual that hosts or participates or leads a group that would petition the school and ask for permission to go to a field trip. The one that you're looking at here in particular is an FFA event. So oftentimes field trips are attached to events that are annual events. that
I'm
students go.
sorry, I have a question on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Sorry, I'd like to pull number 7 and talk about some discussion with the study session. I haven't had an opportunity to review that.
Okay, we just approved it, so.
Sorry.
I think,
I think the community should have an opportunity to speak about that, as well as the 5 of us, because I haven't seen anything of it.
I thought we,
So the agenda was given out last week.
I've had this one day.
I think
So-
that, would be covered under item number 3. What a implicit price deflator is. I think we should cover there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So student field trip forms are filled out at the building level. Those go to the principal who reviews those. They are connected to typically a group or an organization's budget. The principal approves that, and then it kind of works its way through our budget office, and either through my office or the deputy superintendent's office for approval.
Thank you. And I know all of our elementary schools, I think, do outdoor education programs, and they go all different places. Would we get a better price using the same one, or?
I don't know that I have a cost off the top of my head for our different camps. Typically, principals and 5th grade teams work together to identify what camps they might have a history with, or that better meets the needs of the student body. Some are more ADA accessible than others.
Thank you.
I can add to that.
Okay,
A
I'm
bit.
coming further away than others.
Some,
Thank you.
yeah, some of the 5th grade classes do determine where they would like to take their students for outdoor education. And although I haven't specifically looked into whether there's a cost savings to go to the same one, my hunch is that there most likely would not be, because they would go on, probably go on different days depending on when they can get substitutes and so on. So, but it's something that we can definitely look into.
Thank you. Okay, next one was item 3, and I think we had a question on what is a implicit price deflator?
It's what we used to call COLA, cost of living increase. And so typically, when we negotiate future contracts with various bargaining groups, the COLA, now called the IPD, or the implicit price deflator, is added to the salary. Of note in this particular memo is that no additional percentage has been added. That's sort of a cost savings. At times, we have had IPD plus an additional percent. And in this case, that is not the case, and that is a cost savings measure.
I hate having this. Thank you for clarifying that.
I have a question. It sounds like a CPA raise to me at 3.7. I mean, I don't understand, it's implicit, like it's implied that people, I don't understand.
Implicit price deflator is an index that different regions of the country use in order to kind of mimic what the cost of goods and services, how much that has increased year over year. And so it's common to use a type, and you may have heard of another type of index in the news called CPI, or Consumer Price Index. So implicit price deflator is just another type of index that's used throughout the country to determine how much price has increased year over year in a particular region. And that is used by our state to flow salary increases through to school districts and other state organizations. And we get that through our apportionment. So when I report every month on our financials, I talk about how much of the apportionment funding comes through every month. Part of that are these dollars that the state flows through to us for salaries. And so each year, there is, they use the IPD index to provide that increase on salaries.
So it is really just the CPI with a different name.
It's a different type of look at goods and services. Yes.
And I mean, the effect on state funding is only for salaries, not for anything else?
No, the state apportionment that we receive, it's an allocation, and so they provide the dollars to us based on the prototypical funding model that I've talked with you about before. And those dollars flow through to the district based on that model. And then the district is able to provide salary increases as they see fit and as are bargained through our labor partners.
But what about the rest of our inflated costs? Are we stuck with that?
We receive a different price inflator for our other salary costs. It isn't necessarily the IPD. It is, I believe that it was 2%, but then the state legislature this year provided additional funding for non-salary costs that actually they provided the additional funds in the 23-24 school year as well as the 24-25 school year. So with that additional funding, they realized that the cost of other items besides salaries was, they weren't funding that at a rate that they needed to, based on the cost increases that we, experienced over the last many years.
And does that increase match what our expenses have been like the last year, for example?
Not quite. It helps, but not quite. Yeah, which is, the conversation that we've had during our levy conversations and part of our budget conversations. The state allocations just have not kept pace with the cost of living and the cost increases that we're experiencing. And we're not alone in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I pulled number 16 because I also serve on the North County Regional Fire Authority Board of Commissioners. So I'm going to have to excuse myself from voting on the start for secretary. Do you flag for me anything that says North County Regional Fire Authority, North County Fire EMS, or Stanwood? Avoid voting on any of those items. Okay, 17, let's see, you got a question on the contract with Panorama Education.
Director Schreiber, I did have a couple of questions. I'm wondering on this, is it required? If so, by whom? And I'm curious if that $30,000 wouldn't be better spent on something the kids could benefit from. So I'm trying to understand why we have to spend $38,000. And I'm also wondering if it's proprietary, because if it is, we can't change them. So those are my questions.
Sure, I'll get this started. So the Panorama data system is the data system that we use to track, hold, and analyze student data. So things like student attendance, surveys that we might do with students, we can upload grades and other information into the data system. It's, I don't know if it's the gold standard, but it's the most commonly used tool that allows us to track how our students are doing in and out of the classroom. We've used it most aggressively to help inform about student attendance, and it helps us encourage students and families to be at school. Your question around it being proprietary, it is a meta product, and there are many similar products across the state. So if this company were to go out of business, or we were to say, no, we want to go a different direction, there are many comparable products that we can use. So it's not like our fire system where we now have to swap everything out, you know, because we're sort of stuck. So this is different.
Thank you. However, all I see is measuring their SEL performance, and I'm not comfortable with that.
The state requires that we provide an opportunity for students to report out on social and emotional learning. That's a legislative mandate. This data system holds that data, but more importantly, it holds, or equally importantly, it holds, you know, other student data, you know, grades, attendance, SBA scores, that kind of thing. So it does have a self-component.
I'm just trying to figure out how that helps with academic performance.
Yeah, I would say that when we understand our students' social and emotional state, we're able to better serve their academic needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and number 19, the personnel report. I pulled that just to see, we have a lot of assignments there, coaches and other duties. Is there anything we need to do as policy to get the best people for our coaches?
Yeah, so our current hiring policy complies with state law and ensures that we engage in a fair hiring practice, which essentially means that positions are posted according to collective bargaining agreements, and they're posted for the required amount of time, that we have diverse hiring teams, and we engage in practices that ensure that the most qualified individual is hired for the position, and then takes into consideration seniority when it's appropriate for a particular bargaining group or position. So it's not dissimilar from hiring other positions.
Thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda item 16, the service agreement with the North County Regional Fire Authority.
So moved.
Moved by Director Foster,
Second.
seconded by Director King. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And I abstain on that vote. Have a potential conflict there. That passes. And then I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 2, 3, 17, and 19, if I did my math right.
So moved.
Moved by Director Foster,
Second.
seconded by Director King. All those in favor of 2, 3, 17, and 19, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That passes unanimously. Okay. That brings us to the end of our consent agenda. And there are no public comments. So topics scheduled for school board discussion, employee of the year recognition. Quite an honor.
Hello. Every year, as we get close to winding up the school year, which is today, our last day, we have an opportunity to recognize employees in both the certificated area and classified area. And you might recall, typically every month, we recognize an employee of the month in both of those different areas. And now for our June meeting, we do an employee of the year award. And so I think our first one is our certificated. So I actually would like to have a couple people come up here. First, the principal from Stanwood High School, Mike Washington. And our employee of the year for certificated is Michael Randall. I have a few things to mention about Michael, and I've actually known him for a long time. He was a student at the high school when I was a principal, and I started the year that I became principal. So I could share some stories about him from high school, but the good thing is he was an excellent student, and you never know when opportunities come around. We were able to hire him as a teacher at the school. He has really worked hard to help develop the science department, including one of our classes we've had in more recent years, forensic science. And a lot of students are interested in that particular course. He also has compassion for students and spends a lot of time outside of the school day trying to do everything he can to be prepared, keep up on the latest technology or skills for the classroom, continuing his education, and also with coaching. He is our head track and field coach. He also supports the cross country. And one of the things regarding Michael for coaching is really taking a look at providing opportunities for all students. And that even though that increases his workload at times, it is amazing the rewards for our students and what opportunities he is able to provide. He also has served as the department head for the science department as well. So he has served in a number of capacities, and we're really appreciative of his efforts at Stanwood High School and what he does across the district. So congratulations. And I don't know if we're having board members come down for a picture. Evan, how do you want to do that? Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, anybody else can come too if they want.
Well, we have a couple of things for you. We wanted to give you something for your refrigerator on the last day. Congratulations. Our sponsor, Heritage Bank, has a heavy gift for you. I don't know what it is. And then lastly, we have a memento for you. I'm going to open it. For you to proudly display that you are the certificated employee of the year.
Yeah. All right, ready? 1, 2. Couple more. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I won't blind you.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
I'm not even gonna interrupt that. I get the pleasure to introduce the Classified Employee of the Year. And one thing I've come to know this year is that the Transportation Department is as close to a work family as you get. And I also want to acknowledge that Crystal Golahar is the Classified Employee of the Year. I definitely want to say a few things, but the things I'm going to say are actually what I'm going to read from the initial nominations, because there was a lot of them. And I think you'll see a theme, you'll hear a theme coming through right now. Crystal has a huge impact on the way our bus drivers serve our students. Our district is lucky to have her. Crystal is a rock star. We are lucky to have you. Crystal is always ready to help figure it out. And a very heartfelt thank you to Crystal for a job well done. You are amazing. Crystal goes above and beyond expectations and is also an encourager and a supporter. And I think just to add to that a little bit, oftentimes when I see a yellow bus parked out in a parking lot on a weekend, or to a kids event like the Touch-A-Truck at Twin City, I see Crystal there at the door, welcoming families on and just supporting, I think, the promise for the district in everything that she does. She represents not only the transportation department superbly, but also the district as a whole. And so, Crystal, congratulations on being Classified Employee of the Year for Stanwood.
Heritage Bank are our partners, and I don't know if you might have seen it. This is beautiful, and it will hold down all those invoices.
We've got one more.
This one's standing. Every year, the board selects an employee for Employee of the Year. This is a selection that the board president and vice president kind of ponder on. And so I'm going to hand it over, literally, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
And if I may read it, Stanwood-Camano School District Board of Directors, with our greatest appreciation, we hereby present Evan Caldwell with
Yeah, let's grab it. The pointer.
I think it's.
We don't want to blind. No.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Be right here. Okay. Wait a minute. Topic, third board discussion. Congratulations. Thank you for all you do. Okay, so we have the first reading on policy 4110, citizen advisory committees and task force. And this is just the first reading. Again, I like definitions. So what is a task force and what is a advisory committee?
Thank you. So Director Evans actually pointed out that our policy hasn't been updated in 20 years with related to this. This is the model, was the policy that you see here. And they really aren't making a distinction between definition. It depends on district. So some districts like task force language and others advisory committee. This region tends to use advisory committee language, but I don't know that there's a strong meaning one way or the other. But we just wanted to be sure that our policy is updated since we're really leaning into having advisory teams.
And the only changes there are in red.
One question. So who do they advise to? This advisory.
I think if you read the policy there, they can either report to the superintendent or to the board.
Oh, either.
It says and/or.
Okay.
And it kind of depends on, one of the responsibilities here is the description of the committee's charge, what we want them to accomplish. And the specific duration of the committee or in existence. We need to extend.
Is there a way to measure their progress?
I think with regular reports to the board or to the superintendent, we can get those reports.
And there's an accompanying procedure as well that goes into a little more detail on the functioning of the board and.
See that.
Yeah, that one's not, the board doesn't vote on the procedure or the policy.
So, and that's not something we're voting on. We just wanted to discuss that and answer any questions. This will be the first reading of this. I know we're talking about redoing our budget facilities, or capital as we call them. We're doing ABCs. And A would be the academic committee. So, easy.
Deborah.
Questions about?
Yeah, I'm aware of some of these, but if you give a complete list of both task forces and committees and also their existing duration.
Okay, that would be helpful to have the list of those committees or task force, what their charge is and their duration.
Yep, I can provide that to the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Director King. Okay, let's clear up that one. The last one, 2024, was a bylaw addition proposal that was proposed by a school district several months ago. This is now coming to us. There's no rush to do anything on it, but I thought I would let Charlotte explain where this is coming from and what it would entail, and we'll discuss it later on down the road. Sure.
Thank you, Director Schreiber. I just basically wanted to bring this forward as more of an informational piece. WSSDA has done a really good job of engaging students and getting their voices as part of the drive to better our education system. And so a lot of the things that are elements that are in this particular proposal, which is actually a bylaw change. So basically it's codifying student voice within the WSSDA system, besides them just having their own little organization. And so, that would add, students to the WSSDA board as representatives, as well as all of our committees and those particular situations. And so, you know, as student voice is an important part of our strategic plan, I'm hoping that, as you read through this, you'll see that the importance of student voice is something that we should all be getting behind.
Thank you, and we.
Question,
Yes.
which school provided this for you?
I believe Seattle School District is one of the original, writers of this.
Okay, so this is a WSSDA thing.
This was an overall, this is a director, conversation, just like any other proposal that comes out during General Assembly, there is a window where we, as directors and boards, are able to propose bylaw changes and resolutions and all of that. And this is just one more element of that. And so, so that being said, the idea of having all of this as part of our actual bylaws for WSSDA, it just brings it all under the same umbrella.
And Betsy,
So is there a reason we didn't sit down and talk about this, or we're gonna do it later, I guess?
No, this is just informational for you. Just.
Okay, I thought you had a deadline.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we missed the deadline.
Oh,
And so I still wanted to bring this forward so that you're informed. So,
And we'll have an opportunity in the General Assembly to express our views at that point. And, but it was brought forward by Seattle School District, and only about half of the districts in the state have student reps. We're fortunate to have two, one from each high school, helping us in the advisory capacity.
Thank you both.
Dr. Foster, if I might add, the actual creation and writing of this proposal came from Shoreline and Riverview, and they consulted with others like Seattle and others.
Thank
But it's in the
you.
bottom paragraph if you're interested in learning more about that.
Thank you for that clarity.
Thank you for that background. All right, board directors report on school business conducted. Okay, Director King, do you have any report on school business?
Graduation. And also the employee retirement ceremony. It was very interesting for everybody to know. Really important resource.
Director Foster?
I really enjoyed graduation. What a happy day, and I did that 50 years ago roughly. So maybe feel young again. Thank you.
Director Murray?
Graduation is always a joy at the end of the year to see all of our graduates and, wishing them all the best as they go into the world and hopefully, go along the path they have chosen. Also, I got to sit in on the, Career and Technical Advisory, Committee meeting last night, which was very exciting about, talking about our 4-year plan for CTE, and so I'm very excited to see that move forward, as well as getting to see our wonderful new CTE vehicles to be able to get our students to competitions and being able to go out and see different job experiences and that sort of thing. And so just lots of fun.
This is the season of the year with the celebration of excellence, all the wonderful money that is donated to the staff for our students. And the graduation is always a special deal. It was special for some families this year too. All right, there being no further business, Dr. Rowe. Okay, there being no further business, the June 18, 2024 regular board meeting is now adjourned.